channel. If this is your first time here, then thank you for joining, thank you for tuning in. I'm going to be reading off of my notes app, so please, I understand that sometimes we want the person that's doing a video to be looking us in the eye, but I have a lot of information to go over, so just know that it is not intentional for you to not feel seen in this process of me making this video. So I'll just say, like I said, thank you for joining. I do want to be clear that in my review, despite some of the critique being hard truths for the artist to hopefully hear for themselves, which I know some people might be like, oh, that's kind of delusional or deluded, but I think that if anyone was to be in the public eye, like even myself, I would likely read the things that people are saying or want to ingest media about my actions, about the content, which I don't really like that word, but the art that I make. So I would want the art to be a conversation, so I would want to know what people are saying. So hopefully this is received in the way that it's intended. So yeah, and I just wanted to also mention it's not in any way meant to admonish the people that did the song or steer hate towards them. It's quite the opposite. And I would like to end the video with, well, actually, now that I've written the script for this one, it's going to be 2 parts, so let me just state that. This is a 2-part video. But I'd like to end the second portion of the video with a note to each artist individually who worked on the track with words of comfort and recognition in the space of what I do here on YouTube, or is like my plan out in the world to be, which I'm super intentional about what it is that I do. So I want to only transmit love, and loving action is sometimes corrective, right? So if we do something that isn't who we are, if it isn't in alignment with like the highest good for all people, then sometimes corrective action is needed, sometimes corrective words are needed to steer us and instruct us into maybe a better direction. So I will also note that I am a BTS fan. I have, you know, I'm tatted, I'm in the life. So, however, that has no bearings on my review, as I feel that I'm a particularly fair-minded person with a broad perspective. Therefore, this is not a defensive video for them, only a video to kind of be like, where can we open up the perspective here? So that's the angle that I'm coming at this with. So with that being said, let's get into it. As all 3 artists heavily use metaphor and symbolism through imagery, I would say one of the greatest strengths of all 3 of these individuals is the connection to a strong visual story throughout all of their individual, through their own works. So with that, we cannot as an audience ignore the deeper meanings embedded and the subtext embedded in not only the video, but the title image and the song cover that has been disseminated in tandem with its release. It's a pretty severe underestimation. It's a pretty severe underestimation of the intelligence of those performing on the song to think it has no relation with K-pop idols, as it is directly in the title. So originally set to be released as simply pop, they may have found that they didn't want to subliminally call out people they feel are invading their musical culture and violating their relationship with a sound that has been a new votive for the struggling in certain communities. So we'll start with the visual breakdown and then the lyric breakdown. So the visual breakdown will be in this video, the lyric breakdown will be in the second video, and we'll be discussing personal and global histories that have influenced the song they've made. And as I said earlier, I will end on first a collective note, then personal notes to them as fellow artists, countrymen, and children of God. But that will also mostly be in the next video, so stay tuned for that. Stay tuned for that if it's something that you'd like to see, especially after watching this one. So I would be remiss if I didn't first start with the still used as the video title. Travis Scott faces west and performs the Nazi salute, which despite its notorious association as such, it was actually co-opted by Hitler and Mussolini after the Italian film Cabiria was released, and a neo-imperial ritual that is performed. Sammy, get out of the way! Is performed, and it was taken by the Italians in 1923 to endorse fascism. So then it was used by Hitler. So first Italians, 1923, then Hitler. If we are taking this particular historical use of this as the context for interpretation, then at worst what we see here is a statement of saying Western supremacy, which could very well be the case, as we have an American, a Canadian, and a Puerto Rican as the verse holders on the song. However, during an undated period, or at least I can't track down the salute's origin entirely, but was first seen in Rome. It is originally known as the Salute Romano, which the raising of the right hand with 4 fingers per Wikipedia symbolizes the pledging of trust, friendship, and loyalty. We can quote Cicero's words to Caesar that, although that youth is powerful and has told Antony off nicely, we must wait to see the end. But what a speech! Exclamation. Per information collected in my research, Cicero is also noted as saying, so I may achieve the honors of my father, with this layer to also have potential interpretive meaning. We see Travis asking to be heard until the end. So see his salute and loyalty to those of the West who came before him as fathers come before their children and make land for them. You can tell that achievement means a lot to him, and greatness is a value that he holds dearly, which that to exist in a vacuum can become destructive because we're unable to consider others in that journey. Greatness should be met with equal measures to kindness in order for it to be a legacy worth leaving at all. So let's get on to the video's visuals, because that was only the title. In the beginning of the video, we see a motorcyclist with nods to the Vietnamese flag, which is not dissimilar to the Chinese flag, really, as they both have red backgrounds and large star as part of it. China, of course, having more stars incorporated. But Vietnam is in the Indochina Peninsula, better known as Southeast Asia, so we can take the visual hint for who he might be referencing. While Travis faces the west, much like the title image, the rider goes east and disappears. The first call-out is in the track cover image. The cover is a lollipop with a white background, which mimics the Japanese flag. Japan and Korea have had an impressive affiliation, where Korea was used during World War II as a stock port and base for the Japanese, and historically has invaded Korea not only physically, violently, but also in language and their ability to rule themselves. This could signify that this song is an invasion of their territory, so to speak. However, I would like to say that due to the nature of Japan's relationship to Korea, consider this equivocal, if I want to put this into context for those who are not Eastern or of that particular descent, that consider this equivocal to placing a Klan flag in front of Black Americans, because the relationship is equivocal to Black Americans to European society. So Korea was invaded in something referred to as the Imjin War from roughly 1592 to 1598. Then in 1910, Korea was annexed by Japan and only became a free nation in 1945, which parallels our own American civilization for African Americans, who only truly became more free mid-20th century, but not without continued fears of abuse, actual deaths, or attempts of contrition by the nation, which, as we know, have not been entirely successful, and those relationships and the robbing of personhood or autonomy have only made both Korean and Black and brown people cautious of quote-unquote outsiders. So instead have made the communities to seek further homogenous relationships. Basically, what I'm saying here is we're not so different as the song would lead us to believe, and having clear demarcations between left and right, east and west, is not a tool of conduction for an ever-expanding, globalized culture. So he is sat upon a car in a concrete jungle, aka a parking garage, and is surrounded by bikers with hidden faces while he leads the charge and jumps from the car. Cities in America, often referred to as concrete jungles, and his elevation on the card indicates his feeling of position here in the West, his own superiority, even over those he's adjoined to through rap as a medium, his contemporaries. The use of a space like a garage and him starting on the top of the car is a note to J-Hope, who has had 3 videos with and or around cars, the most recent which being Arson. Really great song, by the way. He jumps from the car and he cups his hands to his eyes, right? The little... and looks to the sky. Facing east now, we see the white shirt with a broadcast symbol in the middle of his chest, which means that this is a message or transmission straight from his heart. So this is a personal message. This playful action is meant to say, I'm looking for you. It transitions to a cookout, which is a colloquial term in Black America referencing who is cool and who isn't, who's invited and who isn't. Cookouts and reunions are moments of safety, friendship, and joy. And shown, which again is an additional hand up to those from the East that they aren't welcome and they're not invited. We see him climbing stairs and almost at the top, again indicating his elevation over others in cities and communities he's in. In the next frame, we see Travis enter the fore after tire marks are made through the stadium. Use of the motorcycle additionally could be used as a crack at Min Yoongi's accident in which his shoulder was dislocated and he almost was unable to debut. But the meaning that we, us as Westerners, will make our mark, but more importantly, that he is loudly declaring he will leave his mark and a large legacy and outshine them, who I can only think of as BTS to their music being the most widely broadcasted here in the West. So I'll be referring completely as this being an attack and a call out for them, which there's enough evidence that supports that. But despite this, there are other groups such as Card who are heavily influenced by Latin and Spanish music, which could be the point of contention for BadBunny. This seems to be a more specific song though. Because a message is not a message without an intended receiver. Is that correct? So inside the stadium, full off one sip is spilled. The opening song for BTS Stadium Tour, Love Myself, is a song written by J-Hope called Dionysus, the god of wine. I'd like to give credit that they made themselves studies of those they are criticizing, but it could also be a tone of reduction in group visibility and performance since the members are slowly being activated to military service in South Korea. The most likely meaning, however, is that he feels they're bloated off of only a taste of greatness. And as I said before, one of his deepest personal held values seems to be just that, greatness. He might be angered by those squandering that, something that he's still chasing himself. BTS is one of the only artists to ever sell out Wembley Stadium. They've sold out every major stadium in America and have done so with words that aren't in English. Again, this could have been the reason for the stadium use, or it's just a stadium announcing that he plans on doing a stadium tour. It could be a lot of factors here. I'm gonna take a little drink because I'm gonna be talking a lot. So, next. He stands in the center of the stadium and a green motorcycle heads in the direction to the west, which green symbolizes prosperity, passes in front of him with the nose of the bike raised, as if again stating, I raise my nose and look down on you. The green. The field becomes more vivid after it passes, symbolizing how what he touches flourishes. Day turns to night and 3 box seats come into view, and a crowd appears surrounded by lights and flashes coming from them. So it's below the boxes that are happening in the video. I'm not going to play any portions of the video because I don't know about the legalities of that. I don't know about the copyrights of that. Not as if I'm attempting to make any sort of money off of this, really, but it's just more so out of respect for them as artists. I wouldn't want to put them in there, and this is merely an interpretation of it. It's not actually what they've stated it's about, so So below the box, I'm not going to edit this either, so your luck, which is typically reserved for those of elevated status, monetary backings, and invitees of the wealthy, BadBunny appears, which the group was seen in similar boxes during the 2021 men's fashion show for Louis Vuitton, which we will return to this later because there's tons of LV imagery throughout this. But this center stage could be pointing at the member this is calling out, and that is Kim Sok-jin, who is often called worldwide handsome, and during the 2021 fashion show, he was seen by people as, he goes viral a lot. Like, I don't know how else to put that. He goes viral a lot because of his looks, so that is something that happened at this time as well. We see BadBunny entrenched in darkness, with a single light shown on a portion of him at a party. He stands in front, and he stands still, which again is setting him apart from his environment. Therefore, despite the dancing of beautiful people behind him in darkness, we know that he is meant to be our focus. The camera transitions to follow him as he begins to walk alone, looking around, but flashed in light, mimicking photographic flashes, but also notating, "I'm a star." He walks around and looks at people and bodies in the party. However, we don't meet eyes with anyone aside from him as he walks through, meaning potentially that he sees his influence and they could be dancing to his music, and he's saying, "This is my work. I'm observing how what I do impacts, influences other people." So he leaves and enters an elevator with dark-hued orange lighting, which orange is representative of confidence. This video portion of a club is much like the scene from Park Jimin's video Like Crazy. Again, great song, check it. I mean, like, this is also a good song, like, please, by all means, don't feel like I'm saying that, but again, so, however, the contrary color palette, choice of reds and orange hues throughout this means it's meant to indicate that it's antithetical to the previous. So, in Jimin's video, it's blue hues throughout, which are calming and a cooling sensation and meant to be peaceful. This is power, this is confidence, this is, So, I think it's also worth noting that BadBunny is the only one not by Travis's side, which could indicate that physical distance of Puerto Rico, considering Canada and the United States are conjoined by land masses, but that would be a really weird thing, but it could also be a statement that BadBunny is at the birth or womb of him receiving his place at the cookout or his seat at the table, right? They could be hinting to him that you're welcome, but you haven't done enough to be here yet. You haven't done enough to stand side by side with us yet, which is, I mean, being exclusionary even in the song, even in the video of it, when it's supposed to be about this like fraternal, we're so great and we're together, it's still not harmonized, it's still not unionized. The elevator closes and we're moved to see a cyclist who picks up a silver platter from an outpost. This alone is a powerful message of Travis feeling that he is about to have the world on a silver platter. We know for sure who it references when we see on a helmet that it's going to be about him, because blue is the color of royalty, and the word Cactus Jack, which is a reference to the label he started in 2017 and has grown to since acquire artists like Don Toliver, Wonder Girl, and Scott himself. This writer darts along the coast, and we see these coastal images shot looking up as if to say, "You're looking up at me, you are looking up at me." Then we move over calm waters, representing more of that stillness and confidence that both Senior Bonnie evoked and Travis loudly projected at the start. A water image transitions, The water image transitions to Travis looking east on a boat. He sits with his body in somewhat of a defensive position to the camera view, as if he's hiding, but his hand is to his chin, indicating that he's thinking, which paired together could indicate him saying, "I'm plotting." He's alone on the yacht overlooking the sea. There in front of him are purple beanbag footrest, which, if related to BTS, could mean you're beneath me. Purple is a color strongly associated with BTS and ARMY, and BTS uses it in dresses. Sorry, my cat jumped in front of the video. Oh shit, where was I? He's alone overlooking the yacht, plotting. There are purple beanbag footrests, which, if related to BTS, could mean you're beneath me. Purple is a color strongly associated with BTS ARMY, and BTS uses it in addresses to this group. But as the messages are meant to only be received by the recipient, the lighter hue is meant as subtext for BTS to figure out on their own. We're transported to see a pink mansion with many eyes or windows. Pink often indicates self-love or sweet love, but it can also represent the feminine, and given the verse that follows, we can understand that is the exact intention for it to reference women. The house has many windows, and as a metaphor for the eyes are the windows to the soul. This is again stating, I take this personally, and this is for you. The window is opened by two thin women, which is just a description. It's not, it's not pejorative, which is not uncommon for videos. However, the size of women is in reference to Korean women. And given many lyrics throughout, essentially, sometimes even directly stating, we're here amongst your women. They're craving us, not you. I'll send them back to you after they've been used. Which not only dehumanizes and demoralizes the women they're discussing, but it also commodifies them as mere assets or extensions of the men of their country, which is, I feel as if to say disgusting is too strong of a word for that, but it's kind of a deplorable outlook. I find that it's not very kind. So that's all I'll say about that. But we pull to a scene of Abel or TheWeeknd. I'll use those interchangeably since it seems like he's comfortable having his first name used now. I don't know if that's only in reference to him acting or what, but I will be using them interchangeably because saying TheWeeknd over and over again on TheWeeknd seems a bit much. So we pull to a scene of Abel and Scott at a table with only two chairs. They're still eating. Scott hides his face with a hand wrapped around his arm. Oh, with a band, not a hand. Wrapped around his arm with the number 7. The members of BTS total to 7. So this is not a coincidence. However, given his hand is cloaked as a skeleton, we can gather that he might be saying here, you can come through me alone to take a seat, or die. TheWeeknd we see in all white, and as a person who would purchase an expensive gaming computer like reported in 2021, might be familiar with what is known as the White Glove Society from Fallout 4, which is discussing those who keep the casino in order. If the music industry or rap and hip-hop arena is considered the casino, then that means themselves are placed to be the house, which, as the saying goes, the house always wins. And given the use of a yacht in prior scenes, it could also be him showing white glove service, which is defined as excellent care, service, or attention, as in, listen up, I'm about to speak. The background is coastal mansions and additional women of a particular body type not often hosted or boasted in rap or hip-hop videos. Again, defining this as their place amongst the women of Korea and defining what Western men see as a command or ownership over property. We see frequently people walking 2 by 2, which from a religious background discusses witnesses. So in this instance, as the girls who open the window pass 2 by 2, Scott and Abel sit as 2 as well. We can see that a statement here might be said that it is indicating this is a trial for BTS, because you can't have a trial without witnesses. We land on TheWeeknd in the center of a room, surrounded by windows that, as I've noted already, we can interchange with this meaning many eyes. He is no longer in all white, as he was on the terrace, which could have been to say he was up next. Yeah, that sort of like delineation of, oh, he's here in this particular color right now, to say he's going to be who's speaking next, is, I mean, visually, it's a very stunning video. Albeit if the message is somewhat misguided. He is now in his traditional all black, and we see the support from Travis as he appears to let TheWeeknd stand above him. This is an acknowledgement of Abel as an equal and potentially as a friend. We see the camera switch between the men interchangeably, indicating the salute Romano message of fraternity and loyalty. Both artists place lollipops in their mouths and dance around. We can see in a different shot that the lollipop is green, which is a callback to that established shot of green motorcycle, meaning how they both enjoy the sweetness, the richness of their success and positions. We filter out a video from TheWeeknd performing the power pump move. Eso, this one. I don't know how else to call it, but it has connotations which are sexual in nature that matches the tone and vulgarity of his verse. So we cycle in to see Travis take center of the room, and Travis-born Jacques Bermond Webster II in Houston, Texas, who often mentioned through performance and lyrics his strong ties to his African heritage, dances in a way of jubilation that feels to be an homage to that influence. We get another dynamic shot of the party of women happening just outside of view of these self-defined megastars, which is the youngest, John Jungkook, is often chided for his presence around women, and this appears to be his call-out. So we see Scott having his picture taken by someone with the metaphysical symbol for the Tree of Life, also known as Metatron's cube. If we break down the meaning of the cube, you'll see why. This shows up and is present at all in the video. So the Tree of Life has 10 sections. The crown, intelligence, wisdom, judgment, mercy, beauty, glory, triumph, foundation, and then kingdom. So that's at your base, okay? So this could be an indicator that he feels as though he was crowned at birth, and it's his divine birthright to have a kingdom of his own. However, one of the tenets of this is skipped in this illustration of how he intends to get there, and that is through a lack of the fourth tenet, which is mercy. We then see the man reappear beside him who is taking his photograph and have the tattoo. Again, he's standing there as an equal, with both of them wearing shades, hiding their eyes to hide intention, and staring to the camera as if to say, so what are you going to do about it? I'd like to say it appears as no coincidence that the railing that he has placed in front of is identical, or I should say not dissimilar, to that of the one BTS's first photo shoot in America, which can be viewed on YouTube. The camera pulls out, and we see what looks to be an outside theater seating. So this lookout could also be him looking to his future and his own hidden agendas. In the same house as the daytime scene, we come to view a party. There are I don't know how to put this appropriately. There's no way. There's 7 dildos in varying sizes of a peach tone in a silver bucket or a mop bucket, and a black one in front of it on the table, as if to say it's in use, because it's a party full of women and he's the only man. Again, he's measuring them. This is a digital and subversive metaphor for castration. Wrapped in red, Travis leaves the girl who is still talking with him as if to indicate any attention the women receive is to hurt the men. As he leaves the girl who was she was one of the women in the last shots from the daytime pool party, and begins to dance. He begins to dance wildly, with arms that wave in similar fashion to the Haitian Igbo freedom dance, and other variations that exist in similar fashion to further east in the continent of Africa. We see poison or alcohol in the hands of all the women at this party, as if to be a mention of how he plans through action, through song, through presence, to be a corruption, and the ways in which, in the group's absence, he plans to revert, infiltrate, and change things, and that it's imminent. The scenery changes, and we see a soft wave lap at the shore and a waxing crescent moon. which I don't know how much control over that or how much intention was put into the cycle of the moon for that shot, but a lot of things here, we're dealing with artists, so we have to take that into account. So the moon was a waxing moon, which is also known as a sickle moon, and a sickle being an instrument used to cut down the chaff, aka to level the playing field. But waxing moons from spiritual meaning, according to udayton.edu, is also a sign of fertility related to life and death. It is an indicator for changing tides and seasons, which are also illustrated by that lapping and a distant splash. The moon use in this way is Kim Namjoon's call out, as he is often associated himself with the moon, has songs and many writings that illuminate that connection is there for him. So the image changes to again, to be a street sign, the walk sign, but it's flashing red. Why would that be? Why would that be? It's because it's meaning to say cautious walk sign, meaning be careful where you step and how you proceed. He rides now in a more intentional and flagrant attack by riding in a royal purple car, which, as I have mentioned earlier, is the calling card for BTS and their fan-base army. This is the hue that is most closely tied to the group. Him being the driver means he's taken the helm and control from them, and now rides freely away with the fans. I believe that he thinks he might be able to herd or cull. He rides to the gas station with SCA, or SZA, whom, given the degradation of an entire country of women, I will say I'm a little disappointed to see participate in this video, but she potentially joined the cast due to the racist backlash she received in 2021 by what the internet describes as K-netizens and Korean army fans, who basically, because of racial homogeneity, Chinese and Japanese influences and Western influences of how the proximity to whiteness is good or clean, are victims of the same form of supremacy that caused skin bleaching, hair ironing, harmful body trends amongst black and brown people for the better part of the last 404 years over on this side of the world. So, as the first slaves brought to America was 1619, which thus began the issues of passability, proximity, and social mobility through association with whiteness and white culture through most of that age, only reducing in direct proportion to the embodiment and love of black and brown features and cultural hallmarks being celebrated, which, while always there, became more prominent and accepted first in the jazz age, but truly during the tail end of the civil rights with the repopularization of the natural hairstyle of the afro in the mid-60s as well, by those with tightly coiled curls and things like the Black is Beautiful movement. I just want to say to SZA, I am so sorry for the things that must have been said or unsightly words that were lobbied at you through the lenses of insecurity on those fans' parts. Much like African Americans have come to need to define a state of superiority or supremacy of their own due to lacking it, due to not having that sort of footing here in this country, the Koreans likely also feel the need to fiercely protect from outsiders and hope some mutual understanding. This is me, that I hope some mutual understanding and forgiveness can be given to the situation. So, back to the analysis though, we see the two share smiles and a small J, or if you're unfamiliar, a joint, typically used with cannabinoids of some kind, but it can also be used with other things to smoke, like lavender and rose petals. So this is showing their state as comrades. And again, he's not elevated far above her. They are at sides, meaning as she is the divine feminine, she is also an equal. The gas station representing how he's only getting charged up to forge ahead, as if to say she has greeted him at his return home. SZA is in a yellow top indicating joy. At his side in the store, they ransack for wine and spirits, and she becomes cloaked in a green coat. That's success again, I mentioned. And it is crossed with yellow, meaning her success is joyful, and that she imbues, and it means just as much to her that joy be a part of that process. He is behind the register, meaning this is a free ride for her, and also places him as someone who is in charge. We see the bodies change to what we are used to seeing as Americanized thick hourglass shapes, donned with body and sexualized attire. He has a woman with a camera directed to his face as he sits not in a party but in a locker room. This is a holding place, if we think of it as a liminal space, or like a transitional space, I should say, before being entered into either a sport arena or an instance before he steps on a stage. So we can either see this as a declaration of war or a gathering of strength. We see a sign in French with the name of Saint Raphael, who is the patron of travelers. Below is a town name in the eastern direction called Frejus, which not only has visual significance due to its Roman architecture, which could also be indicating again that it's the Salute Romano and not the Sieg Heil, but due to its Roman architecture, it's also important because it's the place that Napoleon Bonaparte landed in 1799 after he returned from Egypt. So again, here we see that association that he has for himself with leaders of different periods. And much like those leaders, those who have followed him have met with death. As those who have attended several concerts have been trampled to death. And this pointing to Frejus could also mean Travis has read Qu'est-ce que le tiers état? What is the Third Estate? Which held a huge bearing on the French Revolution, is one of Emmanuel Joseph Emmanuel Joseph Sieyès' most prominent works. In the Third Estate, he postures to the audience of his pamphlet, What is the Third Estate? This is in quotations. What is the Third Estate? Everything. What has it been hitherto in the political order? Question mark. Nothing. What does it desire to be? Question. Something. End quotations. At first I understood this to mean Scott discussing himself, but as we can see as he travels and takes 8mm film, or at least a cinematic rendering that is visually comparable to those taken by Kim Taehyung, or BTS's V, who is commonly referred to by BTS Army as the Louis Boy, and he holds sponsorship along with a few other Korean celebrities and brand ambassadors. He walks along into this eastern direction to people turning and releasing stares as he enters the studio with legend of music through both solo work and nerd, as well as it being a creative in fashion, film, and sound production. Oh wait, I just do want to go back to that really quick. So he's not stating when he's talking about the Third Estate, he's not talking about himself. He's talking about them, of saying that they would like to create something where there is nothing. He's saying, what do we have? We have everything. And so it could be an attempt to say that he's seeking to find and start his own revolution, start his own waves. But it also could be stating that he sees that they're trying to do something that is not possible. So back to Pharrell. In an interview with Vanity Fair published June 22nd, 2023, we can see how Williams, a man from my home state of Virginia, where I currently live, feels greatness is chosen ahead of us, as he states about his work with, in quotations, "It's changed my life. I didn't take this appointment. I was chosen, so I'm doing what I was chosen to do," end quote. Which seems to be how Travis feels about his own musical legacy, slowing the video to wind to a close. What appears to be a listening party with Pharrell giving approving nods. Oh my goodness, I'm getting hoarse now. Giving approving nods. And a face gestured up to say, you did something with this. He gives the, you know? We see the jumps and vibes of Travis needing this father figure approval of his music, which he turns to the camera and gives a full recognition of his, yes, I agree with this, yes, I accept this, yes, this is good. Which, coming up from the era that he has, that Pharrell, Mr. Williams has, his understanding and renderings of respect are much different than the times of today. So, but again, I would like to state a bit of disappointment of such a worldly individual as Pharrell, who is still tending to his own legacy through ventures such as Something in the Water Festival that was introduced in 2019, that he would agree with this mode of transmission for obviously a hurt young man who is prostrating himself in such a manner as this song, which shows more how weak he feels than how strong he is. As a man of a certain age, as an elder, as a mentor, who has seen friends and peers in the music community be killed over the use of similar call-outs as those that appear in the song, it's somewhat baffling. Rivaling and fighting one another keeps us from looking up to realize it's not the foot of our neighbor on our neck, but principalities and institutions that keep us divided. After this moment, we see a delivery boy enter the stadium as Travis sits in a seat to eat that which has been brought to him in a silver platter, spaghetti. Nourishment is a meaning that we can glean from them. He eats with black riding gloves on, so despite his stillness here, there's still a statement that he's ready to ride off anytime, ready for what's next at any moment, ready for war. The meal being spaghetti is both a nod to being the Western equivalent, or in this case, rival, right? Because you don't politely call out friends, I don't think. I mean, and this is not even polite. I shouldn't say that. You don't rival friends in this manner. So, but spaghetti has its equivalents in Korean culture with things like gochujang, naengmyeon, japchae. But spaghetti also indicates a desire for a change of routine and can also relate to an abundance of pleasure. This references that changing of tides per like a dream meaning website that I have looked at. I don't remember what the name is, but it was through multiple, so I feel like it's widely disseminated enough that it's okay to use. So he shines a face to the sky with eyes closed to give thanks for his victory. But I can't help but really seeing that how hollow it must be to arrive at success alone, with no one to share your meal with in the end, to have persevered at such great personal cost, and as with what's been illustrated through the imagery of the song, to have such a lack of awareness about what your position means now, what your position means to other people, and what it could mean in the future should you choose to hold that fourth tenet of a little closer to the heart and being merciful. However, mercy cannot exist in a lack of kindness. So I would like to extend some now by inviting you to view the second part of this video. But it will have the review of the lyrics empathetically taken, and hopefully you're able to receive your personal message that I like to transmit. Hopefully you're able to receive it in the way intended. Which, like I said, I'm sure there's probably people watching this that think this is for you. This isn't for you. This review isn't even for people watching this. This review is for the artists that made it. So in that video, in the second part, I'll be discussing those lyrics, giving personal messages to them, as well as giving historical breakdowns of their careers for each person with a verse, and why this might have been the time for them to feel like they needed to release this song. As a final review, however, of the video, I hadn't touched on the use of red throughout, but I will now. And while it can be used to indicate passion, love, courage, creative spark, it's also used to indicate anger. And at many points, Travis and others are bathed in it. So I just want to say, sorry, it's just so heavy in my heart because I feel so sympathetic. I just want to say I'm so sorry, Travis, that the success that you've already gotten hasn't brought you the sense of happiness that you sought, the sense of brotherhood that the 7 members of that group that you attack have, the sense of your own quality and understanding of your own worthiness, and that it's led you to feel that you have to gatekeep in order to retain your position. I just want you to know that you're good enough, and you didn't have to make this. But I'll speak more on those things in the next video. If you like this, then cool. If you don't, that's also cool. If you want to see more of me, you can like and subscribe this so that I can find you again. So I will end this off for now with like thanks and gratitude for you all coming here. So thank you so much for coming. Muchas gracias por venir. Merci d'être venu. Wajwa so como. Okay, bye.